Welcome, 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 geeks and nerds, girls and boys, to a brand new episode of Geek to Me Radio. Tonight, we have one of the co-founders of Not the Funeral Home, Matt Manjourides, on talking about some of his projects they've got coming out, including Night of the Reaper on Shudder. After that, Brandon Schmitt joins us to talk about LANmark, a pop-up gaming event here in St. Louis. All that and more. Stand by.
We're talking TV, comics and movies, and video games. And if you don't know Star Trek from Star Wars, we'll try to explain. There are 12 doctors for Hogwarts houses, one ring rules them all. To be the greatest Pokemon master, you must catch them all. You must catch them all. Try to catch them all. Gotta catch them all. Gotta catch them all.
If you're driving around the greater St. Louis area tonight, listening to us on the Big 550 KTRS, hello to all of you. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you're streaming us on the KTRS app or on the website, hello there, and thank you very much for finding us tonight. If you are streaming us on Facebook and YouTube, hello to all of you watching. Thank you very much for doing so. And as always, if you're hearing us after the fact in the podcast form, on whatever platform you get your podcast, we do appreciate you finding us there. Hopefully you've subscribed by now and left us a 5-star review. We always appreciate that. Obviously, we're doing video. That means Joey V, even though he's upset with me right now, is in the studio with me. We're getting the video live. It's always good to have him in. Full show tonight, so we're going to go right to our first guest. Matt Manjourides is one of the co-founders of Not the Funeral Home, a production company that's behind the likes of The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs, among a bunch of other projects that you can see on AMC Plus and Shudder. Here to talk to us about some of the stuff he's got coming down. Matt, thanks for your time tonight.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on.
So talk a little bit about your background, how you got in this. Some people this is a dream job that you've got for a lot of people out there listening. Talk about, was this something you always wanted to do, or how did you kind of get into having your own production company?
Actually, so I went to college in Sarasota, Florida for sort of traditional animation at Ringling School of Art and Design. And then what happened was Toy Story came out and crushed all traditional animators' dreams. And after I graduated, there were no sort of illustrator jobs floating around because it's not really a thing. And I ended up working at a couple of video stores up in Boston, and then moved to New Jersey and worked at some video stores in Hell's Kitchen. And after a couple of years, ended up interning and then working for 6 years at Troma Entertainment.
Wow.
And that's where I started really sort of getting into the distribution and production side of things. Ended up producing Father's Day for Troma, Return to Nukem High Volume 1. And then met my production partner, Justin Martell, there. We ended up starting very, very small with some small genre stuff that just basically grew into eventually doing The Last Drive-In for Shudder. I had met while I was at Troma. I had just coming up with a couple of ideas of things we could do. Ended up always growing up with Joe Bob Briggs from all the watching him and the movie channel through Monster Vision, and decided to hit him up on his website. This is way after Monster Vision ended, and met him and had a conversation about possibly doing something, pitched the idea to Lloyd at Troma. They didn't really go for it. And then for about 10 years, had it in my back pocket of wanting to do something with Joe Bob, and was able to go to Fantasia Film Festival with another project and met the guys at Shudder. I think they're maybe like a year or so old at that point. And, ended up pitching it to them. They ran with it, and we were shooting our little first marathon within a couple of months. And from then, just obviously took off, and that allowed us to sort of branch out and start doing other movies. And we've done about, I think, 6 or so Shudder movies so far, and other movies for other companies. And we just probably try to produce about 3 a year.
it's amazing to see how Shudder has grown in such a short amount of time. Because I mean, just the fact that it is the destination for horror movies, and that there's a lot of these really great ones that you won't find on Amazon Prime or Netflix, but you'll go here. And our Max on Movies, Max Foyes, who's up next after us here at the 10 o'clock hour, always talks about Shudder and all the great movies he finds on there all the time. What do you think it is? I mean, obviously everyone loves horror, everyone loves to be scared. Is that it, or are there other driving factors that have kind of led to this rapid rise of Shudder?
Well, I think the idea, and to sort of toot our own horn with it, is that they were right at the beginning when it could have gone either way for them. I mean, they really we pitched them hard on the fact that you need something that you can hang your hat on for horror fans that separates you out from everybody else, and that happened to be Joe Bob. And since that really it was kind of a bit of a struggle to get the show going with them, and it was some back and forth in what was going on, but when we obviously dropped it on the channel, it crashed their system with so many people. And that really put them on the map, and really made it a destination for horror fans, separating it out from places that don't have sort of original content. They just might license a bunch of horror movies that every other sort of horror streamer has, and I think from there they've grown with really concentrating on original stuff, doing Shudder exclusives and Shudder, producing Shudder content that you can't get, because everybody in the world can license your favorite horror movies from the 80s and 70s and
right
90s and so forth, so you can find them across multiple platforms. But there's a lot of things that Shudder wants to concentrate on now, for doing originals, which separates it out, and they been able to sort of get a couple of those dropped every year that that I think they have that Good Boy movie coming out, which people are sort of really clamoring over.
You've got a couple of Shudder exclusives already: Hellhole, Eight Eyes, Castle Freak. When to have that exclusive with Shudder, and I'm not asking about numbers necessarily. I'm talking about what makes that an attractive thing to have it as a production company as an exclusive on Shudder. Apart from the business dealings or money, is it just that it is that destination site?
It's one of those things where it's it's sort of a in the realm of streaming, and especially in the realm of genre streaming, it's it's part of AMC. It's kind of like a mini major studio, so you're in that family. So you're in that Walking Dead, Interview with the Vampire family, and to be part of that. Obviously, there's a little bit of prestige to it, but that also allows us to experiment a bit and do things that you couldn't do with another platform that has its limitations. Hellhole. We shot Hellhole in Serbia. With the Adams, who have their fan base, and that was a great experience for everybody. And they Eight Eyes was a project that we shot in a couple different countries in Eastern Europe, shot on 16. So that it allows us to sort of experiment a bit, but keep within like the genre parameters, and they like to they want to see films that come from directors that have a vision or have something to say. It's not just sort of churned out genre stuff. They want, they're really looking for things that are interesting.
What is it? Because obviously I always think of, have this debate with people. If it's like a stalker type movie, I always feel like those aren't as scary to me because you just pull out a gun and shoot them, or you do something. The supernatural stuff is always the thing that freaks me out because there's not a lot of stuff you can sometimes do for that. Do you find one type of horror resonates more? Is it just a personal basis, person by person, or does it seem like a certain style of horror tends to do better than another?
I would say that with your general audience across your sort of movie watching people, the supernatural tends to resonate a bit because it's up to their own imagination a lot of the times of what's out there or what it is. So that can be, mind's eye for anything. Also, obviously that, the idea of having something that is memorable is really important. You can have a memorable character, but it has to be really unique. It has to be something that, it's really a long shot. It's kind of a lightning in a bottle to make that character that's memorable.
Yeah.
And, there probably, in the last 10 years or so, I would say, there might only be like, Art the Clown and maybe somebody else that actually has a character that's sort of stuck in pop culture. And then you have a whole bunch of people trying to imitate that in some way. But with the supernatural, the concept itself can be what sticks with them. The dark corners, the soundscape of it, things like that open up the imagination more, which is why it can sort of stick with people when they're home at night in a dark room. The idea of something that's unseen and terrifying is probably more frightening than an imaginary character or something trying to stalk them.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we have our Michael Myers and our Jason Voorhees and everything like that. And you mentioned Art the Clown. I'm struggling to think of one, as you said, in the past decade that's really kind of really hit the zeitgeist like those did in the very late 70s, early 80s.
Art the Clown took 10 or so years since the first Terrifier to just build up slowly before between Terrifier 1 and 2 was a very, very long time for it to sort of seep into the pop culture subconscious, so it was not just all of a sudden overnight success at all.
Right.
So it's it's really hard to sort of build that up. I mean, that's why you only have a handful of characters in the horror genre that are actual sort of iconoclastic horror characters, and then you just have a whole bunch of people trying to sort of be derivative of it.
And I always think of the Scream movies, but then I'm thinking I always forget, gosh, that came out about 30 years ago now, the Ghostface.
Exactly.
So it's like, oof, that's hard to believe it was that long ago. But one of my favorite movies that I'm surprised more people haven't seen is The Cell with Jennifer Lopez and Vincent D'Onofrio. Just the imagery was straight out of a Nine Inch Nails video. And I'm shocked. I was surprised that one didn't do better at the time and that more people haven't heard of it now. What do you think are the elements of someone who does this that a horror movie kind of has to have to kind of stick with people, get people talking about it, get more people excited about it? What is that from your standpoint that a movie has to have to get that little something extra?
I mean, I would say the things that, as far as, from our own experience and just obviously from watching, a lot of the stuff and what sticks is, it has to there has to be a bit of authenticity to it. You have to sort of not try and imitate something because it will never come off as authentic, which will just, people kind of see through it even on a subconscious level. You have to, I think, let the audience don't spoon feed the audience things. Let them discover stuff. Let their, really let their imagination take hold, which is what the experience of the movie will that will help increase it. That'll make it memorable, is that if they're if they can fill in the blanks with their own imagination, that helps a lot. And then just don't make it boring. Whatever it is, just don't make it boring. And then end with something big, because that's what they'll remember. Their experience of the movie, 80% of it is going to be the last 10 minutes of the movie. Even if so you can have a slow burn of a movie as long as the last 10 minutes are something incredible, because that's what they'll remember. Then they won't remember the first half that might have been a little slow, but they'll remember the fact that you had something that blew them away the last bit of it.
And to that point too, I think we're always hearing lately about how people's attention spans are shorter because they've, whatever you want to call it, TikTok brain, or they're just so used to scrolling through their phones that you need something. I almost feel that now you're saying this, horror kind of lends itself better to keeping people's attention because you got either those jump scares every so often, or you've got something that'll happen visually that kind of makes people pay attention more so than if you're watching, Dunkirk or something like that, where it's just you're going through a movie as things happen. I feel, am I wrong on that, or do you think there's something to that?
I mean, again, it's there's so many different types of horror, just like any other sort of genre, that you can have the slow, methodical sort of doomed horror where every corner's every creak in the floorboard is supposed to sort of set the mood, or you can have your slasher jump scare situation, and again, I think it just boils down to the filmmaking. I mean, it just has to be made well. It just has to be and the one thing that separates horror from a lot of different things is that it can rest on the concept alone. You can have it's like hard to have an action movie without action. It's hard to do a comedy without people already wanting to laugh at the actors, which is why you don't really see a lot of good low budget comedy movies. Yeah, because people want to know that they're going to laugh by the actors. But horror is just, it could be just a good concept. That's that's all you need, and that can hold the attention more than a lot of these other genres. You can have whatever the concept is, you can that is enough, and you can throw no name actors in there. You can have no budget. You can have varying locations, whatever. And it's just people are intrigued by the concept that'll hold their attention.
If you're just now tuning in, we're talking with Matt Manjourides about Not the Funeral Home, his production company for horror movies. Music always makes a horror movie. Like, you can have, if you take out the music on so many, whether it's an iconic like John Carpenter's score for Halloween or whatever it might be, it builds a sense of dread. And then when you always notice when the music stops, you kind of see yourself leaning in because something's about to happen. Do you and your production company have an in-house team of composers who you kind of draw off of, or you just kind of subcontract that out? How does it work for you with the music you match with your projects?
It usually we have a group of people that we go to that we've used, and they may be we like to work with a lot of the same people that have worked out well before, and those directors have people that they like that have worked out before, so we tend to use a lot of the same composers or bands that we source from, because once they do something that's good, you want to sort of keep them in the loop, or you want to trust it, since it is such an important part of the final piece. You want to and usually everything's under a time crunch, so you can't do a score and then scrap it and try to do something else, time and money wise, right? But luckily my producing partner had a label called Ship to Shore Records, which put out a lot of the Shudder scores and a lot of other scores, and so we had a good insight into a lot of composers and a lot of bands, and that helped a lot. We worked with some great people like Blitz Berlin, and we even had the Italian maestro Fabio Frizzi, who did Lucio Fulci movies. He's done a couple scores, so we like to make it diverse, but we obviously want to use great people over again.
And your partner on this, Justin Martell, do you guys have specific skill sets where if something comes up and you're like, well, that's Justin's department, and something else is more your department? Do you pretty much split things down the middle? How does it work? What kind of sensibilities do each one of you bring to this? And then where do you kind of split off on, like, well, that's Justin's area, that's not what I do?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we have to do sort of a good cop, bad cop situation with certain things. It really, I think it depends on the project, because we each have projects that we've sort of brought to the company, or we that we sort of steer, and then we'll each take the lead on those projects and support the other one, on the projects that they lead, and vice versa. So, it's not, we have, we sort of balance each other out in that, which is good. We're not really competing to do the same thing on the same project every time. And, we're also, because of that, we're also able to sort of split ourselves and work on multiple projects, because while one takes the lead on one, the other can take the lead on the other, and then, support the other when they need to. And, it allows us to not just have, concentrate on one thing, because we have Last Drive-In, which is kind of a full-time situation year round.
Sure. Yeah.
Based on our shooting schedule and everything else. And while that's going on, we also, like I mentioned before, do about, 3 movies, 3 features a year, and sort of leapfrog them between each other and go, bounce back and forth. So, it helps that we sort of offset each other.
And you guys met while you were working at Troma, is that correct?
Yeah, I was doing distribution and he was Lloyd's assistant. And, we sort of just started working together on stuff and realized that we complement each other on what we do and how we work and our, in sort of, what we excel at. And, we've been working together for almost, let's see, 15 years.
Wow.
So,
Was with your production company, how did COVID affect things? Because obviously people still film during COVID. Protocols were some productions completely shut down. Did that throw a huge wrench into the works for you guys, or did you just power through?
I mean, we were lucky. We actually got more work. So we were shooting Last Drive-In in Dallas at the time, and then what we had to do is sort of recall the shoot back to the New York area and shrink it down a bit. We did all the testing, and every day people came in and did COVID tests and then made sure everything was good for, those 2 seasons that we shot during COVID. But at the same time, one of the things we specialize in is, we shoot, we have a lot of production partners overseas. So we do a lot of movies in Eastern Europe. We have production partners in the Philippines, Argentina, all over the place. And we ended up shooting a lot of stuff in those areas during COVID, and which companies came to us and were like, we really, we need to shoot something. We're like, we'll do it in Serbia. I mean, we'll do it in, we shot a movie in Albania, we shot a movie in Serbia, we shot in Macedonia, we shot South Africa. So, that's kind of what we specialize in, production wise. We do, we shoot all over the US as well, but, we're one of those people that can bring a production over to, a different country. Yeah. And if it works for them, for the movie. I mean, we had a movie that we were going to shoot in Serbia, but it just didn't work for what the movie was, and we ended up shooting in Buffalo.
Oh.
So it's we're not going to force a movie to be somewhere.
Yeah.
And try to play off Belgrade for New York or anything like that. But if it works, it works, and we can bring it over there. And they have great crews over there. I mean, we were shooting a movie, and that then they stole our locations and our crew to go shoot the new Hellraiser. So,
oh wow,
yeah. So it's I mean, it's there's great places over there. It's just we don't want to force anybody to go over there. But if it can work, then we love doing it.
Yeah,
doing it over there.
I don't want to keep you too much longer, but I do want to talk about you've got the new one coming out. It's Night of the Reaper. It's due out in September, correct?
Yep. It's in September on Shudder, and that's our second movie with Brandon Christensen, and we did The Puppet Man with him, and this one we shot up in Canada, and it's a great sort of return to slasher genre. And we're really excited about that coming out.
With a lot of the slasher type stuff, I feel like there's some of these movies almost like to revisit the aesthetic of the 70s. Like we just saw Wrath of Man in theaters a couple years ago, and it reminded me of a 1970s gritty action movie. Is it the trend in certain films that they kind of go back and forth between, oh, they used to do this and it's kind of that aesthetic, and we see a comeback of the 80s? Is that just depending on the movie? Does it seem to be a trend in cinema overall? How do you see that kind of trend come up from your point of view?
Luckily, in a sense, I was in it from the beginning. When I was at Troma, the first really, retro horror movie, genre movie that really hit it was, Hobo with a Shotgun, which, did sort of a callback to sort of a 70s grindhouse, situation. That was, obviously, they had the, grindhouse come out with Death Proof and everything, and then from there all these indies came out and sort of copied that aesthetic. And it's kind of funny enough sort of built up to the 80s now, where a lot of people are sort of mimicking 80s stuff, and I think that's partly nostalgia. People are wanting to recreate things they grew up with, and hoping that hits a nerve with people, an audience that also grew up with that. Whereas the grindhouse, was aimed at, my generation and older, who, grew up with 70s movies and early 80s stuff, and, wanting that shot on film grindhouse look. Now it's, sort of transitioned into sort of, 80s style horror stuff. And then, it's going to, it's even creeping now into 90s style horror stuff. So, as though that generation that grew up with that style horror movie, that style genre, gets old enough to start making them, that's what they're going to sort of obviously lean into. A lot of that. That
makes sense.
Is sort of making a comeback around.
And before I let you go, I'll ask you, hopefully, what is a simple question. What are your personal top 3 horror movies of all time?
I would say Jaws is number 1. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is always, big place in my heart. And then Return of the Living Dead, probably.
Oh, okay.
I have a special place in my heart for Day of the Dead as well. So that would be in there, tied with either 2 or 3. But I would say I have I think the world's largest collection of original Day of the Dead media release VHS.
Oh, really? No kidding. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just kind of noticing. I'm trying not to be distracted, but I'm seeing all this stuff behind you in your office. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's actually an original Day of the Dead newspaper.
Oh, wow.
From the opening of the movie.
Man,
that's our street trash movie that we did that's supposed for that, and obviously Last Drive-In.
Very nice. Again, if you're listening right now, notthefuneralhome.com. We will have a link to the website in the show notes. If you're listening to this after the fact in the podcast form, scroll down there. There'll be a link there. And obviously watch for Night of the Reaper coming to Shudder in September. Anything else people should know? Are you guys very active on social media handles to give out or anything like that? Instagram or...
not a huge amount. My, my last name is my Instagram. We post a lot of stuff on that, and then check out on Screenbox. We have our Street Trash remakes on Screenbox right now, which is doing really good. And that was shot on 35, and is actually still playing theaters. We're playing theaters next weekend. We've been playing. It's been almost over a year in theaters.
Wow.
Around the country and around the world. So, that's surprisingly still doing great sort of grindhouse weekends and, showing on 35s on some of these places. So we're really excited about that.
Very cool. Matt Manjourides, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much. Hopefully we'll do it again. Maybe we'll kind of have you back on in October once we get into the really spooky season.
We have a huge Halloween October episode for the Last Drive-In. So
perfect.
It's really going to be blowing people away.
I know Darcy the Mail Girl was one of the very first people to follow me on Twitter from a horror movie post that I put up. She's a sweetheart. So, yeah, it's really cool. I love all the stuff you guys are doing. Thank you so much for your time on a Sunday night. We'll hopefully talk to you again very soon.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Bye.
There he goes. Matt Manjourides again, Not the Funeral Home. That link in the show notes if you want to check that out. We're going to take a brief commercial break here. Joey V built the break set. He came back with some Billy Joel because that was a great choice. He's still not looking at me. He's still mad at me. That's all right. We'll come back. We're going to talk to Brandon Schmitt about his gaming pop-up that you can get tickets to. Right after this, you're listening to Geek to Me Radio on the Big 550. Please stand by.
Moving out! Up and hills, down and dales, as we hit the dusty trail, army ants we go marching along. We are bad, we are boss, we've got guts that swish and squash, army ants we go marching along. Army ants! Then it's high, high, he for the end artillery. Shout out your orders loud and strong. Grab the egg! For where'er we go, you will always know, army ants we go marching along. Army ants! Sold in squadrons of 3 and 8 from Hasbro.
Look no further. Rocks and bugs and things are here in a never-ending battle for domination, where Traposaurus fights off evil beetle, while gravel guts and bloodstone confront the buzzing menace of wicked cricket. It's rocks versus bugs, with mortals as a tasty prize. Where will the evil end? Can robots, soldiers, or heroes stop them? They're on the move and ready for action. Rocks and bugs and things from Ideal. Throughout time, people have asked, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Maybe it was a Manglore, like Manglore Demon. You can pretend to hatch Manglore Dragon and Manglizard, too, each sold separately in a make-believe egg. You can stretch them, squash them, take them apart. They'll return almost like new to their original forms. So if you want to hatch up some fun, you can crack open a Manglore. The Manglores, Manglore Demon, Manglore Dragon, and Manglizard, each sold separately from Ideal.
Airlandia, the Air Raiders command post, prepares for the Tyrant's Dragon Wind attack. Hit it with everything we've got! Thunderclaw, launch! Remote missiles, fire!
Hey there, this is Paul Eiting. There's a message here from Colonel Roy Campbell, Metal Gear Solid. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio. Keep listening, because if you don't, you could cause a time paradox.
Paul Eiting, one of my very favorite voice actors. I figure it's only appropriate we come back with a video game liner for my next guest. Before we get to him, though, I want to tell you about our premier sponsor, the Greater St. Charles Convention and Visitors Bureau. The website is discoverstcharles.com. I know I throw a lot of websites at you every week with our guests that are here. Go to their website, check this one out. This is especially important recently, so I want you to make sure you check out the website. Please visit discoverstcharles.com. Please, if you're in the Greater St. Louis, St. Charles area, go by the Convention and Visitors Bureau. They're located in the 200 block of South Main, and tell them how much you love what they're doing, how much you support what they're doing. If you happen to live in St. Charles, let your councilmen in the ward you're in know how much you really like what the Convention and Visitors Bureau is doing and how you don't want anything to change. Just want to put that out there and let them know that Elizabeth Phelps and Ryan Cooper and the entire staff over there at the CVB do a fantastic job bringing you not only the big festivals like Christmas Traditions and Legends and Lanterns and the brand new Once Upon a Valentine's Day, but everything else that goes on down there. They help arrange all those special events that happen in St. Charles, that go up and down Main Street and in that surrounding area. If you haven't been there to visit for a while, maybe you're like, yeah, you know what, I keep hearing them talk about that, but I don't think I've ever actually been over there. My gosh, the weather couldn't have been nicer today. This is would have been a great day to go, but the weather's going to be like this for the rest of the week. So if you're looking for something to do, maybe you're like, boy, the weather sure is nice. Go and have dinner on the patio at Salt and Smoke. Go sit at Bella Vina, have a couple glasses of wine and some flatbread or their steak kebabs. Just go hang out. Grab an ice cream from Kilwins and walk up and down the cobblestone streets. It's such a cool area. And this entire area, the businesses I just mentioned, these are small businesses like Chuck and Lou, like the Cozy Shop, like First Capital Trading Inc., like Sugar and Slice if you want some really good macarons. And on weekends, they've got giant cinnamon rolls that are absolutely incredible. Go check them out. Pop your head in these stores, pick something up. You're supporting small businesses. You're not supporting a big chain or a big box store. And that makes a difference, especially in an area like historic St. Charles, because it's beautiful. You can just go take the dog for a walk, have a stroll, go to the wine cafe, get some cobbler from Magpies in the 900 block. I could go on, and I could do the entire show just listing the businesses up and down North and South Main Street and how cool they are, what makes each one special. But you need to go out and check it out for yourself. If you have not been and you're kind of wondering, well, some of these restaurants sound cool, but can I see their menu? Go to the website, discoverstcharles.com. It's discoverstcharles.com. Click on the restaurants, click on the things to do tab. Just kind of poke around the website for a while. Check out all the things there are to do. And the biggest compliment I probably got is from our friend Dan Riva, who might be listening from LA right now, but we brought him in as one of our special guests at Two Rivers Comic Con. He's been on the radio show so many times. He's heard me talk about all these businesses and how cool historic Main Street is. And he told me after being at the event that weekend in May, he said, James, you've undersold this place. This place is incredible. So go check out what I'm telling you about and what Dan Reba discovered, how cool Main Street is. DiscoverStCharles.com. As we always say, it's an historically good time. My next guest, we've got Brandon Schmitt in talking about LANmark. If you're a gamer, if you like gaming, this is going to be a fun event. It's at Work and Leisure, which you may be familiar with already if you've come to the Tenacious Eats events before. And he's going to be telling us a little bit about what you can expect at this event. Brandon, thanks for coming in the studio.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Of course. So LANmark, I take it, obviously you must be a gaming fan to put all this together and everything. Talk about what was your very first video game experience that you remember?
Probably back in the day with Sega. That was probably our first system we had as a family. So
was it a Genesis or
Sega Genesis? Then we got the Sega CD, which was a little edgy at the time. But yeah, Wiz and Liz, Aladdin, all the classics on Sega was our first systems.
I had a friend who had a Sega Genesis. We always played Herzog's Y. I don't know if you remember that one.
Yep.
And Altered Beast.
We still have ours and it still works.
Do you?
We're gonna be bringing
gosh.
We're going to be bringing it that night.
I'm so jealous.
Ready. Yep.
So talk a little bit about, obviously this will be at Work and Leisure.
At Work and Leisure.
And there'll be a lot of things to do. Talk a little bit about, the doors open at 3 o'clock. There's a link we're going to put in the show notes if you're hearing this after the fact to brown paper tickets where you can get tickets to go to this event. Talk a little bit about, walk people through the event.
Yeah, so it's an open gaming night, social night for gamers and geeks and nerds. We're going to have amazing food by Tenacious Eats. We're going to have themed cocktails by Work and Leisure. But it's an open gaming night, so we're going to have big screens with a couple of gaming systems, modern from a Steam Deck to the Switch to retro N64, Sega,
nice.
GameCube. We're going to have a different array of systems. I think Dan the Pancake Man's going to be there. So it's just an open night of gaming, and we're going to have some board games, card games. The idea is a kind of a night for us to get feedback from potential customers on an idea that I've had for a long time on a community-based, membership-based gaming club for gamers. So it's kind of a trial night, and that's why we're calling it LANmark Alpha Night. It's just a night to start getting feedbacks, build a fan base, and start having some fun in gaming.
To take on something like this, I mean, when I think of gaming, obviously some people think tabletop, and some people immediately think video games. This is both. This is going to be both.
Well, the idea is all types of gaming. So board game, card game, PC, console, all of it. So there's fans for all types of gaming, and we're trying to cater to all of them because you can cross over, right?
Yeah,
so there's a lot of crossover. Like my brothers like playing D&D, but they also like playing PC and console and Magic the Gathering. So there's a wide array of gaming and gamers out there.
I don't want to say that it's easy. Anyone can just pop up and play an arcade game, but I've grown up with arcade games, going to Aladdin's Castle at Jamestown Mall. So obviously I feel that way. I can just go up, pop a quarter in, play a game. Same thing, you can put a cartridge in an N64 and start running through, and you'll kind of learn. The tabletop gaming, though, some of that requires some learning. So will there be demonstrations as well, or is it going to kind of be, you'll have several games out and people will just kind of gravitate to those that they know? What's that going to look like?
There's going to be the usuals that you know about. So there's from the originals and the easy ones through some harder ones. We're going to have some people there that are experts in games. I like to tell Chef Liz that I want to have a game sommelier of sorts who is an expert of games that can walk people through. And the LANmark kind of future state is going to have that type of position in the business, because anybody could walk in and they may need that kind of guidance to walk them through and get them set up on a game that they may not have played before. And I think that makes for a fun night, right? So you can come in and just get walked through a game, get it all set up and get it ready to go with your group of friends and try something new, instead of Sorry or Monopoly or something generic.
There are some games like Gloomhaven that are you can set that up and you can take a month to beat a campaign.
Yeah.
Other ones, like our friends they did Turn for the Worst. It's a card game. You can play a game in 10 minutes.
Yep.
So are there going to be games? Obviously, Gloomhaven, something like that would have to limit itself because it's just a one-night event. But are there going to be like demonstrations for something that is that intensive?
I think we're going to try and limit it to games that can be played within that night. Because if my older brother, he likes to play games that are span 3 nights if he could. But no, there will be games that you can play in 5 minutes, and there's games that you can play in an hour, and that's totally fine. Whatever your group is there for, totally fine. Come in, get some awesome food by Tenacious Eats, get some mixed cocktails, and just come in and have a good time. That's what it's for.
So I know Raven is the mixologist at Work+Leisure.
Yep. And
I'm always blown away because whatever movie event there is or whatever pop-up event is happening at Work+Leisure, she'll be like, here, try this. And it's something new. I'm like, dang it, I'm going to have 4 or 5 of these.
Yep.
So did you work with her about, hey, let's name a drink the 1-Up or anything? Or you're just leaving it to her?
We kind of gave her the free reign. So we said, here's some ideas, here's what we're kind of looking at, but have at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want her to be creative and just come up with things. Down the road, we'll come up with some specific ones, but for the first night, just have fun.
And with Work+Leisure, if any of you who've been there before for the Tenacious Eats events, the movies, or whatever the pop-ups may have been, they got those big, giant 3 screens. Yeah. Will each screen have a different type of game, or is it going to be that's where the tournaments are going on? You'll be able to see it on all 3 screens so people can watch. How is that going to work with
I think 2 of them are definitely going to be specific consoles, and people are going to be able to play and switch in and out. I think we might reserve one for Dan or something else that's going on. But we'll be using those fully. I'm going to bring in some old CRT TVs and play some of the old consoles on them. And we'll have a lot going on. And we'll give out prizes periodically and have a good time. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, you've looked into doing this because, like you said, you kind of want to make this this is a pop-up event, but you're looking for a place to have a full-time, this is going to be what it is. When you're doing this, obviously, do you find people are more interested in the tabletop versus the arcade-type games? Is it a straight mix down the middle? What obviously, you must have researched this by now. Have you found anything out that kind of lends it one way or the other, you think?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
It's going to be, it depends who shows up, right? There's fans for everything. I think if you put an old N64 in somebody, they're going to sit down and play it. But if you sit down and, put Wingspan down, like they may sit down and try and play that too. So, it's going to be a wide array, and it's just going to be wide open, and we are encouraging people to try different. So, sit down and play the Sega for a little bit, but then go play, a game of, like I said, Wingspan or some other Ticket to Ride or something like that. Yeah.
And this is September the 26th. The doors open at 3 o'clock.
Correct. Yep.
And people can come in at 3 and then bow out after a couple of hours. Is this something people should arrive at the opening for to make sure they sign up for the tournaments? How's the layout of the day kind of look?
Come and go.
Okay.
We'll have periodic things throughout the night, but come and go and stay as you please, and there'll be amazing food and drinks, and we're gonna have a fun time. It's just an open gaming and social night, and we'll be asking for feedback on kind of like the overall business, the larger business concept that I have, and just hang out and have some fun and play games.
Is this to be, and maybe you can't say, is this to be the first of several pop-ups kind of lead up to it, or is this kind of like you've got this one planned now, we'll see how this one goes, and we'll look at a future one? Kind of what's your where's your mind space at?
Yeah, we have some plans for future ones, but right now we're just doing this one and seeing how it goes and getting some feedback. And Work+Leisure's been great, and they're already asking about the 6th and 7th and 8th time. So
nice.
Yeah, and so if it goes well and feedback's good, then we'll just keep doing them for a while and start building up a fan base and have some fun. Yeah.
One of the way back, it feels like forever ago now, I used to work with Game Riot, and they had those video game tournaments that would travel kind of the country.
Yeah.
And I hosted gigs for them in Phoenix, down in Fort Lauderdale and stuff like that. And people get very competitive.
Oh, yeah.
Even over something like Miss Pac-Man.
Oh, yeah.
So with your tournaments, what kind of games have you curated for tournaments on this? Is that something that's going to be kind of toward the end of the night, there'll be kind of a gaming tournament, or is this just going to be free play for the night? Just mainly this is a feedback exposition.
Yeah, first night, free play.
Okay.
We'll arrange for tournaments and different competitions on future nights. I kind of just wanted to get the first one going, and Chef Liz has kind of pushed me to kick this off, and that's kind of what I needed, because this has been something I've been telling people for since I've been in high school. So she kind of been kicking me in the butt to just try it and see how it goes.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, future ones we'll have a Smash Brothers tournament. We'll have a Magic tournament. You know, there's so many games out there.
It's crazy.
Even Dan has a game of his own. Like we could play his game.
Yeah.
And so there's tons to do.
And is this going to be something, because I know people sometimes go to these events and they'll bring their own games. Is that encouraged, or should we want people to play the games you've got there? Because if people bring like, hey, I've got this game and I want to see if other people want to play it.
I don't care.
Okay, I didn't know if there's
Nope. And even, future state, should this grow into something, that's encouraged too. This is meant to be call it a country club for nerds. It's meant to be a membership club for gamers, and you come and go, bring your own games. It's meant for you to come in and play and be encouraged to stay as long as you please. Because that's where, going back to high school, we would go to a LAN center, and that's kind of where the name kind of comes from, LANmark. But we'd paid by the hour, and back in those days, we were still paying $6, $7, $8 an hour, and we'd spend the whole weekend there, spending hundreds of dollars every weekend. And so, I want to create this social environment, this membership club-based business where you're paying to be a member there, just like a country club, but you have full access and you can come and go as you please, and you don't feel that pressure to be paying for every hour that you're there, or that you need to make your membership worth it by spending X amount of time there.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the genesis of where it all came from.
Boy, country club and gaming sommelier. Now I feel like I should dress up for this event.
Oh yeah,
but it's not. You don't need to. No black tie or anything for the event on the
hoodies and not fancy. No.
And this is just such a thing because there are so many people. Obviously, my age, I grew up with an 8-bit, and if I want to go all the way back, I started out in an Atari 800 computer playing Missile Command.
I'll have one of those there.
But okay, so
it probably won't be working, but it'll be there.
I mean, that's just if it's in the room, you get that bit of nostalgia.
Yeah.
But I know it's just evolved, and the games now have become so complex. Like even the newest Zelda game, I'm almost overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff I just like to go back and play. And I noticed the trend is with a lot of the Gen Zs now are wanting to go back and play those 16-bit arcades and everything, which is wild to me because I don't know if the games have just become so overly complicated. They're kind of wanting that simpler thing where you don't have to play for 10 hours and you save it and I've done 1% of the game.
Yeah.
So there is that kind of simplification factor too, but you see that with the sales video games and everything like that. So I take it this will have a good mix though of the old school and newer stuff as well. I'm taking it, right?
Yes.
Or is this mostly retro up until a certain point?
No, there'll be some modern games in there. Not a lot. But yeah, back to your other point. Yes, people are coming back, and I think the retro games are actually sometimes harder. And with your Zelda one, I haven't played all the modern ones. I stopped at Majora's Mask.
Okay.
So, but even those older games, they're hard and they're fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, that night we'll have a couple of modern games, but mostly retro consoles, and then the board games will be semi-modern and some older there too. But yeah, not too many modern ones because, like you said, you play for 5, 6, 8, 12 hours and you're 1% in. It doesn't lend itself to that kind of night.
Sure, yeah.
But down the road with a membership club, like you can come and play for the 12 hours all you want, and that's encouraged. So yeah, for the type of something like this, it's meant to be kind of fast play, group play, a little bit faster paced.
And to your point of the older games being more difficult, anyone out there who has ever beat Aladdin on the original NES, please text me and let me know because I know no one who's ever beaten that game.
Nope.
Some of those games were just impossible.
Nope.
So
I got an old Wiz and Liz Sega cartridge on my shelf in my office at home, so that's my little trophy.
Yeah, I just a couple of years back, I guess, maybe just after COVID, I traded the guy some stuff I had for an original Nintendo.
Okay.
And just like, oh my gosh, so I started playing it. My wife kind of, I think I remember this game. Sat down, played Super Mario Brothers and just, Popeye and Kung Fu, all the classics like that. It's just, there's something about it.
I'll have a bunch of old systems there. I recently got a NES, an Atari. My wife's dad had a bunch of old systems laying around, and so I'm going to have them. Some of them work, some of them don't, but we'll have them set up.
Very cool.
It's going to be cool. We're going to have a corner in the Work and Leisure. So this original idea back in the day was lovingly called Mom's Basement. That was the code name for many years. It was my dream to open Mom's Basement because back in the day we'd go over to my friend's house, carry our big old computers over, and play video games in the basement. So we'll have a corner in Work and Leisure that's got an old TV and set up some old systems, and have a retro feel over there. So
my friend had the idea. This is probably 2004. He bought one of those giant car trailers you can actually pull a car into and haul it across the country, and he fitted it out with 6 stations. And he had, I think, gosh, I can't remember what type of computer he had, but you could do Halo, you could do Unreal Tournament and stuff like that, and just 6 people playing. And he was going to bring that around and rent it out at parties.
Like a mobile gaming thing. Yeah. Those are big.
Yeah, and now, like I said, people can do that online, which kind of is like, man, it's hard to think about back then even. Yeah. It's not that far removed from the year 2004. Nope. But how far technology has come.
Those are great for parties, and I think they do pretty well. I think they pay for themselves pretty quickly.
Yeah, so. I think he got rid of it. I can't remember if he ended up making money off it or not. Yeah. But it was just so much fun. But to your point, having those LAN parties, it was an insane amount of fun.
I think a lot of people cling to those memories. I do, and what brings a person out into the world that can play video games at home. It's creating that environment. That's what I'm going for, is to create this environment that will bring those people back out and play with their friends and bring back those memories. So that's kind of the vision I have in my head to create, and that's what I'm kind of working towards. And Liz has kind of kicked me in the butt to at least get that ball moving a little bit and start building that a little bit and see where it goes. But that's the vision, is creating those memories that we have back from our childhood and doing the LAN parties and being with our friends and building an environment where people can come out and do that again.
And if you're just now listening, we're talking with Brandon Schmitt about LANmark Pop-Up Gaming Event. We're going to take a really quick commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to have a discount code for you to use. If you think this sounds like a lot of fun, if you've been to Work and Leisure before and just want to go for the cocktails, that's perfectly fine. If you want to go for the Tenacious Eats food, that's fine too. But we'll get you a coupon code you can use, and we'll visit a little bit more before we let him go. Take this last commercial break, and we'll come right back. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio on the Big 550 KTRS. Please stand by.
Earth's first line of defense has a breakthrough in space technology. Magnalock. It defies the law of gravity. Activate STARCOM equipment. Control STARCOM weapons. Figures and vehicles each sold separately. Magnalock, a mighty power for STARCOM. A deadly threat in the hands of the Shadow Force. Who will survive? STARCOM! Battle Beast! Wood! Fire! Fire burns wood! Battle Beast! Fire! Water! Water puts out fire! Battle Beast! Water! Wood! Wood beats water! Battle Beast! Battle for the fun of it! Just activate their battle badges.
I got fire! I got water! Water beats fire!
Battle Beast!
Wood! Fire! Fire beats wood!
Battle Beast can grow into an army. Collect all 84. Battle Beast! Yo, Burgundy, chew on this.
You'll never cut the mustard, mean winner!
Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio.
Welcome back to the show. Geek to Me Radio, heard here every Sunday, 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific on the Big 550 KTRS and streaming online. Hopefully you are watching the show on YouTube and on Facebook. If you are watching on YouTube, make sure you click the subscribe button, please. We're trying to hit 10,000 subscribers before the end of the year. We're about 600 something short. So if you want to be one of those 600, we would be glad to have you as a subscriber. And of course, click the bell notification. That way you get notified every time we go live with a show like this, so you can tune in and see who our guests are. Coming up, we've got some very exciting guests. Next Sunday, we've got Joaquim Dos Santos. If you're a fan of Across the Spider-Verse, he directed that. He also did a lot of the stuff with the Justice League Unlimited cartoon and Warner Brothers projects before making the leap over to Sony. We'll have him on for the entire hour on the 31st. And then the next Sunday on, we're in September already, September the 7th, Dynamic Music Partners. If you, I know we've had them on the show a couple times individually. We've got all three. So Lolita Ritmanis, Christopher Carter, and Michael McHouston will be joining us to talk about the music. They've just released their Justice League soundtrack on Amazon with some unheard tracks. I was asking why this hadn't come out on CD. It's because it's too much. It would be like a 10 CD set just for this first season of Justice League that they've got the music out for. We'll talk with them all about music and what makes a good superhero theme. We'll talk with them about that, and we'll take your calls and questions as well. I want to make sure we tell you about Bugs Comics and Games, our official comic book sponsor. If you are wanting to get out there and start building your collection, maybe you're like, hey, you know what? Superman, Fantastic Four, this is really cool. I haven't seen these comic books for a while. Where do I need to get back into it? Larry can be your comic book sommelier. It's like having a gaming sommelier, except for comic books. So you can go out and say, hey, I used to read this back in the day. And he'll be able to kind of fit you into, well, you might want this particular run of Superman that's out right now. Or, you know what, you might want to check out the World's Finest run that Mark Waid and Dan Mora are working on right now for DC Comics. Whether you're wanting to buy back issues, if you're wanting new issues only, make sure you join the Avengers Club. That way you start saving money on your weekly comic books. You go in there and you'll save money on back issues, toys, games, bag boards, whatever it is you might be wanting to. Save some money while enjoying your hobby. Ask them to join the Avengers Club when you get there and start a pull list so you don't miss your weekly comics. Also, you can make sure to follow him on Instagram and Facebook, Bugs Comics and AND Games. He can be your local comic book store online. He posts comics that are for sale. You can just say, hey, that's the one I want. He'll ship it straight to your door after you pay the PayPal invoice. Easy peasy, no fuss. Bugs Comics and Games. Very proud to have them as the official comic book sponsor here on Geek to Me Radio. Chatting for just a few more minutes here with Brandon Schmitt about LANmark gaming pop-up that he's got going on. If you're interested at all in going to this, and my gosh, you should be after all we just talked about, there is a discount code that you can plug in on the website, SEGANERD, 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 and that will get you some discount on the tickets for that event happening. It is, we decided, Friday the 26th at Work and Leisure. Doors open at 3 o'clock, so it's a full day of gaming. You kick off your weekend. I can't think of anything better. And I think we're going to give away a pair of tickets.
Yeah, giveaway. Yep.
All right, so we got a pair of tickets. Gosh, I'm trying to think. I should have had a trivia question. But do you have a trivia question in mind, a gaming question?
Why don't you just something with your favorite game?
Okay, so here we'll do this. NES. What does NES stand for? That should be pretty simple. Old school gamers. Yeah. NES. Those letters. The first person to text us on the KTRS text line at 84126. Or leave it in the chat. And I just realized I've not had the chat up this entire time. Joey V, if someone has the answer to that in our chat, just wave at me, let me know. Or if you want to text it on the KTRS text line to 84126. First person to give us the correct answer, what does NES stand for? We'll get a pair of tickets to that event for LANmark at Work and Leisure on September the 26th. I would imagine this is, I'm glad Chef Liz is kind of giving you this kick. Obviously, this is a daunting thing to try to take. Or do you have a space in mind, like how much square footage you're thinking you'll need? Are you looking at a specific part of town for a permanent thing? Or are you going to have a couple pop-ups first?
And
then
first.
Ease into it like a warm bath?
Yeah, a couple pop-ups first, get some fan base, get some feedback, start talking and networking with people, and go from there. Yeah. I have ideas and spaces in my mind, but obviously that all depends on where and when. And money and all that good stuff. So, yeah.
And we've just got about 30 seconds left before the music starts playing. What's the best place to send people to check out? Obviously, we have brown paper tickets for the website to get the tickets. Is there anything social media-wise, handles on it for LANmark yet?
Yep, Work and Leisure, brown paper tickets, and then we do have an Instagram tag. We're getting all the socials set up and doing all that work. But right now, those 3 locations are the best.
Perfect. And we'll have those and more information on that as this progresses. If stuff comes up, we'll keep you informed about it here. We have a winner. Joey V, what's the name of our, did they get it right?
Our friend Shannon.
Shannon. She got the correct answer for what NES stands for?
She's not confident. There's question marks at the end. She did get it right, though.
She got it right. Okay, so Shannon, congratulations. We'll send, do me a favor, Shannon, and text an email address where we can get that for you so we can have those 2 tickets for you at Work and Leisure. As I just realized I missed my mark here for the outro music, so we're going to miss the final ID. The radio station will cut us off anyway at the end of it, so it's fine. But thank you very much for coming in, Brandon. Thanks for the pretzel gifts. That's amazing. I'm going to be, I'll be fat and happy for the rest of the week.
It was great to meet you guys.
You too. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. And thank you, obviously, to Matt Manjourides for talking about all the stuff they've got going on at Not the Funeral Home. We got that link in the show notes. You can check that out, and hopefully you'll enjoy Night of the Reaper in September. Thank you to Joey V for making, I don't know which camera, because this camera isn't actually ours. Is that the wrong one? Is this the right one? There he is. making the show sound and look as good as it does every week. Couldn't do this without him. Thank you to all of you who listen every week. Thank you all for tuning in. And until next week, my friends.
Game of Thrones references, that's our show. This is Geek to Me Radio. That's our show.
Thank you, Last Drive-In. Good night.
Capital, at the direction of President Trump, have started carrying firearms, an escalation of his military deployment.